Welcome to BritAsia TV for an exclusive interview with the author of Who Killed Moosewala. It's been a year since Sidhu Moosewala passed away, and the fight for justice is still continuing throughout the world, with his parents fighting for justice, his friends, the industry, and so many more people. Author Jupinderjit from India has actually written a detailed book and an investigation into, what happened on that day, the events that led up to it, and also the aftermath as well. And today we're joined by him exclusively live from India. Jupinderjit Bhaji, thank you so much for joining us here at BritAsia TV.
Thank you.
Let's kind of go straight into it. The book itself is a very kind of sensitive topic. It's come out quite soon after, Sidhu's passing. Just tell us a little bit about your background, like who you are and, what kind of made you write this book.
Yeah, thank you for giving me this opportunity. And this is my sixth book. I'm a journalist. I'm a special correspondent with the Tribune. I have 25 years of experience in journalism, and I have covered Punjab extensively. I have been posted in Jammu and Kashmir for 3 years, and Jammu and Kashmir is a hotbed of terrorism and an international, news state. And I worked in Rajasthan also. My main expertise has been crime reporting. And during this crime reporting, I have done several investigative series, number of drug series on terrorism, on gangsters, and several others. And most of my stories have been based on crime reporting and my experience in journalism. I belong to a village which is very close to India-Pakistan border. It is Khalada in Amritsar. And so I have a fair amount of idea about the life along the Indo-Pakistan border. And many of my short stories have been based on that. I have a book of short stories. I have a book of poetry. And I've done two books on the internationally infamous Jassi honor killing case. She was a Canadian girl who decided to marry against the wishes of her parents in India, and she was killed by contract killers who were hired allegedly by her mother. So that case I'm following for 22 years, and I have done more than 100 stories on that. And I also was quite lucky to found the lost pistol of Shaheed Bhagat Singh. Shaheed Bhagat Singh needs no introduction, and he had killed a British police officer, J.P. Saunders, on December 17, 1928. And after he was hanged, the pistol was with the police department. It was at the Malkhana in Lahore. From there, the pistol was supposed to be at Philor Police Academy, and so many years passed, and no one knew where the pistol was. So I found it in 2016, and I had to do a lot of research for that, and eventually I found it from a museum of border security force in Indore. It's in central India. I hope some of your viewers know about Indore and that place. And so I penned a book about that, which was it had two parts. One part was my the journey of an investigative journalist on tracing the pistol and how what kind of tools I used. The second part was knowing the ideology of Bhagat Singh, especially why he chose the path of violence and how he taught his own brand of non-violence through his actions. So that book was very well received. It has already been translated in few languages. And then after that there was this Butchered for Love, again sequel to Jassi honor killing case, because now it was released about 3-4 months ago only, and it has also been well received. So then Sidhu Moosewala, I have been following this case from day one. Being a crime reporter, I am responsible for covering major crime events in the state of Punjab, and I have done some exclusive stories on gangsters and the mafia in music industry, as well as in kabaddi and all that. So I did not initially plan about a book, but as the events unfolded in the Sidhu Moosewala case, he became symptomatic his rise was symptomatic of the issues in Punjab, and his demise was also symptomatic of the issues confronting the state. So through Sidhu Moosewala stories, I have tried to uh, portray the current Punjab scenario, the socio-cultural, political, scene in Punjab. Uh, I don't know how much I have succeeded, but I hope readers will receive it well and give me inputs further. Yeah.
Yeah. With obviously being a crime reporter, you have to gather a lot of evidence, and obviously evidence from assumptions is a big, big difference. How much time did it take you to kind of, number one, locate evidence, and number two, how easy was it to locate evidence?
Of, of all my books, this was the most difficult book to write or even to conceive because things were changing every day. Every day things were changing. And so initially it was just news reports. You know, uh, journalism, there is a spot news report. This thing happened. Police is saying this, family is saying this. Then you go deeper into it and you do, you do a half page or a full page story, which is like more research based. So while I was doing all these things, I realized there are many factors at play here, and so I started gathering stuff. I started gathering all the documents police could share with me, and I started recording interviews. I started keeping, because there are so many interviews of Sidhu Moosewala before his killing. There were so many interviews of his accused also, and all those interviews were like you said, assumptions. Yes, there were so many claims and counterclaims. All those had to be corroborated, all those had to be cross checked. And so I think it was only around August that I actually sat and started putting all things together. Uh, and then, I was fortunate that Jaya Bhattacharjee Rose, she's from the ACE Literary Consultancy, and she's my literary agent, and she had been following my stories and events in Punjab. And she, approached me and said, "Can you do a, quick book on Sidhu Moosewala because there is huge interest in this case?" And so Westland Books commissioned me the book, and I had to do it in 3 months, which we did. Which we did. The first draft was done in 3 months, and every day it was about writing, collecting evidence, talking to people, whether it was Delhi police, whether it was informers in gangs, different kind of gangs, or Punjab police, the family, the friends, people who knew Moosewala, people who were on there on that day. So all that, and so to the best of our knowledge, 99% I can safely claim the book is based on facts and evidence. 1% I may have taken some, poetic license to maybe, talk about the emotions of some people, maybe, something, but more than 99% based on actual events.
Um,
Yeah, please.
how closely have you worked with the family? Obviously, the family are at the center of the case. They're fighting for his justice. Have you spoken to the family? Have you spent time with the family? And are the family aware of this book?
Yeah, yeah, of course, of course. See, this book is not a biography. It is not a biography. It is a crime reporter's account. I enter the scene on May 29 when Sidhu Moosewala is killed, when six shooters spray, 30 bullets at him. So that is when I enter the scene. And so the all book is a crime reporter's account, how I see things, how I see the rise of Moosewala and how I see his killing. And so I met not just his family, but I have tried to meet every person concerned with the case, every person concerned. And meeting the parents was of course most crucial, because there are many things, and many diverse claims going on in the media. So they were the ones who confirmed me all that. And once the book was done, I went to their place and I have gifted them the book also. and there are photos about that on the social media.
Start from chapter one. So the book, where does the book start from? From obviously the first chapter.
As I entered the scene on the day of murder, and so I have started writing from there, and that is Moosewala's "The Last Ride." That was his song, and that is what we termed it. It was his last ride, and that is how we started going back into the story. The chapter starts how he's going out of his haveli, and how he's shot, and what is the scene there, what are his last conversation, all these things. So that is about the first chapter, and then each chapter we try to follow a pattern. If you notice, if chapter 1 ends at one point, or at one character, or at one issue, the chapter 2 will start from there, and chapter 3 is like this, and so on and on. So it's kind of some kind of a flow which we have tried to build. So we had to start from the last ride.
When you obviously traced your steps back of the last ride, how easy or difficult was it to kind of trace that last ride? Because, Sidhu spoke openly about, how he received death threats. He spoke openly about, the pressures that he faced going into politics, being a singer, and being this global kind of icon. But then, how did you kind of piece together the last ride?
Yeah, I first of all, after there was for 10 to 15 days, it was not possible to actually get hold of the entire sequence of events. No one was willing to talk, and there was such a sea of mourners at Moosewala's house that it was very, very tough. Once things settled down, I traveled on that 8 to 10 kilometer car Moosewala had drove. I traveled a number of times, not just one, a number of times. To go through that process, trying to go into his mind. I spoke with his friends who were traveling with them, though they were very reluctant, and with not just they, many people were reluctant. First 6 months, rarely anyone spoke, because everyone thought that if he says something, he's going to become a suspect, or if he says something, someone else is going to become a suspect. There was so much of police pressure, fear, fear of gangsters also. So I can only say that it was after 6 months that people started opening up, and all those 6 months I kept visiting that area. That road was like known to me like the back of my hand, and the vegetation, the everything, and how that place has become a kind of a shrine. Wherever those bullet marks were hit on the wall, people have preserved those marks with the fiberglass. And if anyone is going and visiting Moosewala's Haveli, they go to that spot also, where Jawahar ke village, where he was killed.
In his last ride, there was two other gentlemen that were with him. Now, many people ask questions about who these two guys were, because literally after the murder, these two names and guys just kind of disappeared from anywhere. Like no one really mentioned them. People were asking questions: who are they? Like where did they go, etc. How did you locate these guys, and what was their relationship to Sidhu?
Well, they are Gurinder and Gurvinder, and both are, they belong to the same village or a nearby area. And like, our Punjabi culture is, people from the same village are cousins. One of them is actually a cousin. And they were questioned a lot. They were questioned a lot by police, and by, they faced a lot of heat. But, their statements, their phone records, their past, everything was checked. And it was like, the first question was that when 30 bullets were sprayed, how come they were saved, and Moosewala could not save himself? So that was a big question on everyone's lips. And well, they were thoroughly questioned. I also spoke with them, but they told me what they had told to police. This the same thing. They didn't add anything. Only thing they added was that Moosewala wanted to have Golgappas, and this was a plan he did not tell his parents. And main statement was the same as they gave to the police. They told me something about what kind of things they were talking, and what was the general mood in the car. Uh, why didn't they take the other car? Why they took this car? All these things. And they have disappeared. They have disappeared from the scene because they are the prime witness, right? And they are being under a lot of, they're under heavy security, and it is not easy to contact them, and that is why they have been strictly told not to give any media interview. So you will not see any photo or video. They spoke with me only on the condition that I will not record anything.
Did they mention, recording who surrounded the car, or did they talk about kind of what happened when the car was, attacked? Like how many people were there? What angles? How did were they in cars? Were they in scooters? Which way did they run off? Did they talk about anything of the actual scene to yourself, or were they very kind of generic in their statements?
Yeah, they did. Whatever they did, I mentioned in the book. I would not like to disclose everything on your show. I want people to read my book and make their own judgment also.
That's totally understandable. Another kind of area that I want to touch on is, his political career. He transitioned from a singer into a politician, and obviously a lot of people were upset with the party he joined. Some people thought that he should stay as a singer. How was it investigating this kind of element of his murder case? Because obviously politics is a very, very, dangerous game for people. Did you look into this factor as well, or was this something that didn't really cross your mind?
Yeah, I did. I mean, but politics was a very brief period for him, and I think he just went with the flow. I don't think he had a very he was a born politician, or he had some big plans in politics. He was approached by a number of parties, and I believe that he was approached by all the parties, but he went with Navjot Singh Sidhu and Rahul Gandhi. So, I mean, I think it was mainly the influence of Navjot Singh Sidhu on him that worked. So, I mean, I will not say that he was going to leave his career and become a full-time politician. This did not come during my research, so I just touched upon it because I did not find any clue that it was it had some kind of bearing on his murder or his choices. And I think if you look at his interviews, he was I think Moosewala at some point regretted contesting the election.
If we kind of talk about, the kind of the event that kind of took place, again, just going back to the last ride, do you think there was failings on behalf of the police in terms of how they responded to the case, i.e., how quickly they were on the scene, how quickly they picked up evidence, how quickly they got the car? Some people were saying that, the road should have been shut down there and then in order to capture the perpetrators. Is this something that, was investigated in as part of your report book?
Yes. That's a very important question, and thank you for asking this. You see, Punjab police responded very poorly, I would say, to the incident. First of all, his security was withdrawn, which was a very, very bad decision. After that, Punjab police did not seem to have a system in place on how to handle such an incident. So the first thing is to seal the borders because Mansa is close to border with Haryana. These are state borders. These are not international borders. The first thing is to seal the borders. Second thing is to put up nakas everywhere and circulate as much as information you have got from the crime spot. Uh, my book will tell you, and I had done some news reports about it also. That the shooters were six. There were six shooters, and they were in two cars. So one were in a Bolero car. The four persons shooters were in Bolero car, which we call Bolero module, which was led by Fauji, Priyavrat Fauji. The second was Corolla car, which was by Jagrup Rupa. So the Bolero car, they lost their way while running from the spot, and they had to hide in fields, waiting for backup, waiting for fresh coordinates from Goldie Brad, who was in Canada, and so he had to send someone to pick them up, and they had to go to a pre-decided, hiding place. So these guys were like less than 10 kilometers from the crime scene, and they were in Mansa district, the Mansa police, Punjab police area, and they hid in fields. Even the villagers informed the police, and a small team was sent there to check that whether they are in the fields or not. The policemen could not enter the fields, fearing that the shooters can fire at them, because the shooters had these sophisticated weapons. And so I think that was very very bad decision on the part of police. Otherwise, shooters would have been caught there and then, and so much embarrassment which Punjab police has felt, they would not, they could have avoided all those. After that, also, the shooters went around, and there did not seem to be much, police presence on the highways or on the link roads. Police is saying that they did not get proper time to react to the situation, because so many fans and followers of Moosewala gathered. Like, there were thousands of people who gathered at the civil hospital where Moosewala's body was brought. Then thousands of people gathered at his Haveli, and it seemed that this crowd can turn violent any time. So all the police reinforcement was sent to civil hospital and Musewala's house, and so they had no time to actually go after the killers. So I mean, they could have done a lot better than what they did.
In terms of the suspects you mentioned, in terms of the shooters, has the report actually and your book defined who the actual shooters and killers are? Because obviously there's so many names that have been thrown into the mix and the equation. Has it been kind of honed in on who was those that actually killed and fired the guns?
Yeah, yes. I mean, there were, you are very right. There were so many names and so many photos being circulated. Delhi police had some claims, Punjab police had some claims, the central agencies had some other claims. And eventually, the shooters who were caught were these Priyavrat Fauji and Ankit Shersa, Deepak Tinu, and others, Deepak Mundi, Jagrup Rupa Manu Kusai, and Kashesh. So these guys were, identified, and they are in jail. So, I mean, there is no question so far that these were the shooters. No one is questioning this. And my book gives details about them. One, which I especially worked on, this is that, in my entire crime reporting career, I don't, demonize the criminals. I don't consider that they have this crime in their blood, or they are born criminals. I've always felt the circumstances or the system, the poor governance, the poor policing makes the criminals out of normal persons also. And so I've tried to humanize these shooters, and I've tried to go into the reasons on why they become gangsters, why Lawrence Bishnoi became a gangster. And I hope the readers will be able to understand in my book that they are also humans, though there is no defense or justification of their crime. But I've just tried to look into their minds as a human being.
When we talk about kind of the weapons that were used, again, questions are always raised about, what weapons were used, where they came from. Now, reports obviously say that, two of the weapons have been recovered and two of the weapons haven't been recovered. My question here is this true? And secondly, where were the two weapons recovered, and how have, the police, those investigating, not found the rest of the weapons?
Yeah, you see, only two weapons have been recovered, mainly used in the crime. only two weapons have been recovered. Those were AK-47 and one pistol. I have the list here. And the other weapons were recovered from the people who were, not directly involved in the killing. Like they did not shot at Moosewala, but they had weapons with them. The logistic guys, the sporters guy, the guys like Keshav and others, guys like Nikku and others, and Jagu Bhagwanpuriya's gang also. The police has not been able to recover weapons used by the Priyavrat Fauji module, which was the Bolero module. Four shooters were with the Fauji module, the Bolero module, and they claim that they gave the weapons to a person in Haryana, and that person had given the weapons to a guy called Jupinderjit Singh Joga, who has not been caught, and he is a proclaimed offender. And then the National Investigation Agency says that the Pakistan-based terrorist, gangster turned terrorist Harvinder Rinda had supplied the weapons. Probably the weapons have been destroyed. So that is a big, big loophole in the police investigation, and that can actually hamper the the framing of charges against these accused, because recovery of weapon is very basic. So 6 weapons used in the crime, only 2 have been recovered, and that 2 were from Jagrup Rupa and Manu Kusa, who were killed in a police encounter.
When we talk about obviously the crime scene in itself, there's videos that kind of show Sidhu's car driving away. But then obviously where the attack took place, there's no footage at all. There's nothing, there's no one filmed any of the attacks happening. There's no one filming any of the there's nothing been documented or filmed, or no CCTV anywhere. Do you think it was a tactical killing that they aimed for, the attack to take place in this kind of blind spot area?
I mean, this is something which the police has not looked into, and this is a very, very important point. And my compliments for you to actually pinpoint that. And this is very strange. You see movement of Thar at so many places, but at the exact site, where they waylaid him, where they blocked his car, there is no CCTV there, or maybe there was CCTV there and it was just removed from the scene. So I tried my best to find the CCTV there, but no, I couldn't get anything. But it is very, very strange, because just before that curve, you have such a high quality CCTV. You can see anything, but not the actual murder.
After obviously that same day, or I believe it was a day after, there was an infamous voice note that kind of was leaked, whereby a call went into Tihar jail, where they've kind of said that Sidhu's been killed. Now that voice note seemed to disappear after that. Did you investigate the background of this voice note? As in, where did it come? Was it authentic? Was it leaked? Was it fabricated? And who was behind these calls?
Yeah, I have mentioned that the details of that voice record in my book, and I believe that it was true. And but somehow police is not bringing it on evidence. And when I asked them, why haven't you brought that on evidence, they say that the forensics did not confirm this was Lawrence Bishnoi's voice. So I mean, that was very strange. And I have asked this question in my book.
When we talk about kind of the mastermind, do all fingers point to Lawrence Bishnoi, or is there other people, other masterminds involved as well, or is it just the one mastermind, which is Lawrence Bishnoi, and obviously next to him is Goldie Bra?
Oh, I think these two are the prime accused. They're not the masterminds, because I don't believe that this case starts with Lawrence Bishnoi and it ends with Lawrence Bishnoi. That's not possible, because the one strong, my suspicion for this was proven true when there were 2 back-to-back interviews of Lawrence Bishnoi from inside a jail, and these interviews are impossible. Jails don't have that good network, right? And there is always a background noise. In those interviews, you must have seen them, there is no background noise. There's excellent lighting also. And why only Lawrence Bishnой's interview? And that too just before the Moosewala's death anniversary was being observed. So the timing is under question. And the other way also, the way Lawrence Bishnoi has been treated so far makes me believe that there are some forces who are trying to either protect him or to project him. There is an effort to change his image also. There is something more. So I don't believe that Lawrence Bishnoi is mastermind. He can be the main planner of the event. Goldie Brar can be the main executor of the event, and but there is something else. And I've raised these questions, but because the court has not framed charges so far, and there were so many legal limitations of what I can say and what I cannot say, and it's all sub judice and just 1 year. And so I've tried to say some things, between the lines, and I hope readers would be able to understand that. Uh, and one good thing is, that people are opening up more gradually, and I hope that I'll reach somewhere very soon.
You know, I know obviously time is pushing, and there's just a few more questions which I just want to kind of touch on as well. If we talk about, you mentioned informers earlier on. Are these informers that infiltrated the gangs that were part of the police? And how did you manage to locate these informers that you kind of mentioned earlier that you spoke to?
I cannot give much details because journalism is all about sources. So sources in police, sources in some groups or something. So I cannot talk much
Yeah.
about those. But it's important to know what kind of theories are in circulation in the underworld also. So I try to do that. Whatever I could mention, I mentioned it in the book.
Another key moment in obviously the investigation of and getting justice for Sidhu was an incident when the government kind of announced that Goldie Brar had been caught, I believe in North America it was, and that Interpol had arrested him. But then again, that story then kind of faded away, and there was no kind of confirmation of that. Did you look into this, statement that was released versus what actually
Yeah,
happened?
that was very strange. And after few weeks, okay, so Goldie Brar was said to be spotted in California, detained there. This is none other than the Punjab Chief Minister claimed it, and many police officials, including intelligence agencies, confirmed to us that yes, Goldie Brar has been detained. But then that turned out to be false. Later on, at the same place, Lawrence Bishnoi's brother, Anmol Bishnoi, is also spotted dancing at a wedding. And that wedding is also of a criminal, Karanveer from Ludhiana, who is a proclaimed offender in a murder case. And one singer is also there with who Moosewala had a running feud. And though the singer denied any knowledge about Anmol Bishnoi's presence there, so it's a very uh, I won't say, it's a very strong coincidence that Anmol Bishnu is also in California and Goldie Brar was also spotted in California. Though later on, that thing died down. Indian police said that, we may have got wrong information. And then Canada police, they issued a release saying that Goldie Brar is one of the top 25 wanted gangsters in Canada, and that was the first time that the Canadian police acknowledged that they know someone called Goldie Brar. And when they say that he is one of the top 25 gangsters wanted in Canada, then that was a kind of a admission that he was in Canada. But so far, police has not been able to trace his address, and I mean, there is something there which will come out.
You mentioned obviously the music feud that he had, and again, a lot of names have been thrown out there that there's a lot of people in the music industry that had a hand in handing out his phone number, his details, his tour dates, whatever you want to call it. Did you investigate this? Because again, this was quite a big kind of allegations that were raised against people from within the Punjabi music industry.
Yeah, yes, this gangsters influence in Punjabi music has is growing since 2013-14, and you can say you can see a parallel growth of one side drugs, money, and gangsters are rising in Punjab. The other side, Punjabi film and music industry is also rising. So they have a lot of influence, and there have been open disputes, though I tried my best to know something more about that, and whatever I have come to know, I have mentioned it in my book. And police has also questioned a lot of singers, and police say that they are still open to investigation on this. And there are some aspects which are there to look into, and so I have tried to raise those questions in my book. And it is like huge. This gangsters. I remember that gangsters were in 2014-15. There were about 50 gangs in Punjab and 500 gang members. But now there are 500 gangs and 2,000 gang members. There are at least 7 to 8 FIRs against Punjabi, against gangsters for threatening or attacking Punjabi singers or filmmakers. Some actors have even moved to Canada and UK and other places because of fear of gangsters. Uh, you see, it's not easy to answer that question here in this short time. But Moosewala's when he entered into contract with some people in Canada, and after some time he realized that he was not making money which he wanted to, so he wanted to get out of the contract. And the other persons, obviously, because Moosewala had become very big, and he was bringing a lot of money, and no one will let him go. So they wanted to retain him, and that is where the first conflict started. Now there are so many claims and counterclaims that who went to the gangsters, who went to some powerful people, who asked them to mediate into the disputes. And then Moosewala was told by one gangsters not to go at a certain kabaddi tournament and have a music show there, but the other gangsters said that you go, no one will touch you. So there are so many aspects about these cases, and some of those I have mentioned in my book. And there there is a lot of things which need to be unearthed, and I think my book would be the first step
Do
towards
you
that.
think that there'll ever be justice?
Yeah, of course, and see the justice will be made eventually, because even you see. There have been allegations that Moosewala was involved with gangsters. But now we have 1 year of Aam Aadmi Party government, which who have all the resources at hands to uh, bring to the readers if Moosewala had any gangster connections. So if they have not been able to find it in 1 year, that means Moosewala was not actively involved with any gangsters. Okay, maybe he may have made some friends here or there, maybe for for protection or something. Maybe those gangsters had given him protection on their own because they had rivalry with the other gang, and they did not want to lose their fiefdom. That gangster is all on fear and fiefdom. If they lose their area, they lose everything. Justice will be a long road in this case. As my experience with the policing has been, with the judicial system has been, it is 22 years and the justice is yet to be delivered in Jassi honor killing case. And so Moosewala is far more sensitive case. I would be surprised if Lawrence Bishnoi, Goldie Brar, and all these shooters are actually convicted, because there are so many loopholes. and gaps in the police investigation.
Jupinderjit Singh, thank you so much for joining us. We've covered a great deal, but the book is out now. Just let people know where they can purchase the book, where they can read the book, and the floor is yours to sign off in however way you wish.
Yeah, the book would be available worldwide, I think, probably by the end of this month, and it will be available as Kindle, on Kindle format, and also print on demand.